Welcome to Joe's tutorial part 6, specifically tailored for the Live from Studio B project at Holyoke Community College. Okay, so I'd like to talk about graphics now, dropping graphics into our edit. We've already color adjusted, made any other kinds of adjustments we might need to the clips. So before we start cutting and editing, we'll want to start to play around with title graphics, things like that. So first thing I want to show you is in the Live from Studio B shared folder. There is a folder, I'll go back out of there, a folder called graphics. If I double click there, we've got a bunch of files to use in there. If you want to use them, they just need to be downloaded to your local computer and then exported or saved from there, which I'll go over in a moment. I'll also point out that there's an instruction document loaded into that folder. And so if you'd prefer more narrative setup, this has all of the instructions for how to use the Adobe Illustrator graphics documents, the templates that I've created in there. And I'll go over that now as well. So I'll close that. And also to note, Flynn Paul's design, the title graphic for Live from Studio B can be found in here and should be downloaded to your local computer, and then it can be imported into your Premiere project. Okay, so I'll minimize that. So I want to show Adobe Illustrator briefly without going into too much detail. It's a good program to use for more specific type of design work. We can make graphics right in Premiere Pro if we'd prefer, which I'll show you as well. But in case you would like to use these templates that are already set up, this is how we'd go about doing that. Okay, so I've got 3 files opened up here as tabs. I'll start with our artist name, the performer name that we'll have to put at the beginning of our edit. And as you can see, it's a template. This is the Noiseman and the Squids was the last project done, so it's saved in there, but we can change it and type in a different name. We'll see how simple it is to use the template. So I'm going to just double click within this text, and we'll see that I'm in my text tool now. If I click and highlight everything there, I'm able to change this information. So notice that everything in my properties over here is already set. So spacing, font, all that kind of stuff. You can feel free to change that stuff if you want to, but it's already there. So as a template, you can kind of work with this pretty easily. So we're playing around with an edit for Pat LaBelle. So I'm going to change this name. I'm going to caps lock, so we're in all caps just for the way we've been designing it. And I'll type in Pat's name. And notice that it's a little bit, spacing is a little off because it's a shorter name. So I might, in some cases, go over to my selection tool so I have my text box to work with. And I might simply center this a little bit. So in this case, I'll just drop it down. I can use my arrow tool for that, or I can click and drag. Lots of ways you can do it. But I'll use my arrow tool just to drop the placement of this so it's a little more centered. And so each performer's name is a little bit different, so it's up to you how you want to lay this out. But for the most part, font, spacing, all that stuff is pretty well set, and you can kind of plug and play with that. Okay, I'll briefly go over to these other documents. The same principle is here. So this is a song title graphic that the information can simply be changed right in the text box field the same way. Okay, so I'll change this to one of Pat's songs, Enchanted, and change the artist name just below. Notice that that's italicized just to differentiate from the song title. I'll keep it in caps lock. Okay. And I'll go back to my arrow tool. I shouldn't need to move that around, but of course I can do that as well if I'd like to. It's designed to be right at the bottom left of our screen. Okay, and the end credits, just to point out, obviously the crew changes pretty much every shoot. So this text box is active as well. Just click inside there and change the names accordingly, right? This one also, depending on how many crew were involved, you might want to space this out, center it, sort of make the text box fit a little bit better. And that's completely up to just simply moving those text boxes just a little bit, up to you. Okay, so I'll go back to our performer title here. That's going to go at the beginning of our timeline in Premiere. And so what I need to do is get this out of Adobe Illustrator, so I'm going to export it, and I'm going to export it as a PNG file, which will retain the transparency. So notice this checkerboard behind the text. That means there's no background for this. It's transparent, which suits us well because we're going to place it into our timeline, and we want it to this text to sit on top of whatever kind of visual graphic we have as a layer, as a track. Okay, so I'm going to go up to File, Export, and I'm going to say Export As. Okay, so I want to make a choice about how I want this to be exported. I'll turn my caps lock off for now, and I'll title this something distinctive. So Pat title, let's say, and I'm going to select the folder. So right now I'm working in this demo folder, Live from Studio B Tutorials. So I'm going to export that right into that folder. So again, everything is organized. All the files I need for my project are in one place and I can find them easily. Okay, the format is already PNG. If it's not, click on that and select it. And I also want to keep checked use artboards. So what that means is that it'll hold on to my placing within the pixel space, within the canvas, as opposed to just having the text kind of floating where we would have to position it again in Premiere. So I'm going to say use the artboard, and I'm going to hit export. One more option here. So let's export it as a nice high-res image. That way we can always scale it down as needed, but we will make sure we have nice crisp text to work with. And the background color, of course, should be transparent, which we'll select to make sure we have nothing behind that text. So we can place it right on top of our timeline. Okay, I'll say OK to that. And this is a little unknown error that comes up, but it doesn't seem to affect our work. So I'll go over to my desktop, check my folder, and we'll see a PNG. Yep. So if I open that up, I've got a Pat LaBelle transparent, white on transparent PNG file ready to import into my Premiere project. Okay, so I'm going to, same would be true for the other two graphics as well, however you want to use them. The song title graphic, I simply export twice. So I'll export once using one name and then change that text for a different song title, export it again, and name them accordingly. Okay, so I'll minimize Illustrator for now. More info on that is on the Google Drive if you want to play around with it. Okay, so I'm going to open up Premiere. Now we are able to get that file that I just created into our Premiere project. So we import it just like anything else. So I'm going to go over to my media bin here, and I'm just going to double click so I get my import window. There it is. And select the files that I want to put in there. So I actually do have my Live from Studio B title from Flynn Paul, and I also have Pat's main title as well. So I'm going to import both of those files in, and click import, and then they should appear over here. So notice that graphic files, so things like text boxes, are distinguished by a different color as well. So it's a good way to keep your files organized in your bin. And if you need to change the names of those, you can always do that just like we did for the video files as well. Okay. Okay, so how do we use these? How do we drop them in? We drop them in like any other piece of media that we want to work with. So I'll take the Live from Studio B image first, and I'll drag it in. I could put it anywhere. I'm just going to put it in video track 4 just to make sure it's out of the way. I'm way zoomed out right now. So I'm going to hover my playhead over that and zoom in so I can see what I'm working with. Okay. And just for simplicity, I'm also going to right-click within this time code and take off audio time units, just so it's a little bit simpler up there. We're working with the video frames now in terms of our markers. Okay, so I've got one file in there. I might as well just drag Pat's title in there as well. So I'll click and drag, and maybe I'll put that right after the title slide for now. Okay, so how these text files work, they default when you drag them in, they default to 5 seconds. Of course, they're not stuck there. It's not progressive frames, not a piece of video media. So as you extend, I'll show it here, as you grab the edge and pull it, or shrink it. You're simply allowing that text image to lay on screen for longer or shorter. Okay, so there's nothing else that you're clipping there because it's not progressive frames. Okay, so we can choose how long we want this on screen. That might vary here and there. There are some standards that I've used, but it's totally up to you how you want to experiment with these text graphics, how you want them to appear on screen. Okay, so we'll notice that Flynn's design is already formatted correctly for our pixel ratio, our sequence for this video file, but our Pat LaBelle text is a little too big, and that's fine. It's a nice high quality file. We can simply go into our motion graphics. So notice that this text clip has all of its effect controls, properties, attributes, everything is connected to it over here just like any other clip. So if I were to click again on a video clip, I've got that information. If I click here, so I have the white bounding box around a different element. Now I've got that information to work with. Okay, so lots of things you can do in terms of the text element, the image element that you can work with. For now, all I want to do is scale this down so it's a little easier to work with. I'm pretty sure if I go to 50%, let's see, I'll just type in 50% scale, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so my formatting still applies. Everything looks good. It was just much bigger file, and I'm just going to scale that down so it's more usable for this particular edit. Okay, so I'll go back down into my timeline. Just before I do, notice that there's lots of other stuff you could do here as well. So we've started to talk about keyframing and things like that, which I'll get into as we start to edit as well. But that information is here too if you wanted a text layer to fade in, fade out, things like that. Okay, this works just like a video clip. So once I have changed the attributes of this file, so if I go back over to my scale, notice that it's 50%. On this text. If I were to drag in another instance of that file from over here, drop in, notice that it has its original, right? So this is the same thing as video clips, your media bin. Any changes you make in the sequence do not apply to the original file that's in your bin, so that you can always get back to that information as needed. So I'm going to delete that one. So just like color balancing and adjusting, if you make big adjustments to a text graphic, you might want to do that first, and then you can copy paste that text graphic itself. So I'm highlighted on that clip. I can do Command C, or I can go up to Edit, Copy up there. Move my playhead over a little bit so I have room, and then Command V to paste it. And now if I wanted two instances of that text graphic, for instance, it now does retain the scale because I've copy pasted the one that I've changed. I'll delete that. And cutting works the same way as well. Okay, so if I extend that title slide out, but I want to cut it somewhere precisely, we can do that the same exact way as anything else. Okay, so I'll take that little end and delete, or of course you can just trim more easily this way. Okay, how this works over top of a video image, again, this is a transparent a PNG, a transparent file, so that we've got the white text against a black background. I haven't placed in a black background, but Premiere Sequence defaults to black if there's no visual content already placed in a track. Okay, so I have to unhide those. So how this would look on top of a video track, I'll slide this over so it's on top and put my playhead there. Okay, so we can see how that text graphic behaves really nicely over top of any video that we might be working with. Same is true for Flynn's title up here as well. If I were to stack that on top, of course now I've got two graphics on top of each other, but I can move that over, drag that down. So that design works exactly the same way. It's on a transparent background. Okay, so I typically allow that to be over black just for the sort of style of what we've been doing. On occasion, a text, an artist's name will be overlaid over top of a graphic, and this is all about style. It's entirely up to you how you want to use these. And in another segment, I'll talk about designing the intro for these as well. Okay, last thing about graphics, that's how you generate them in a different application, export them properly, and import them into your projects. You can work with them. But Premiere also has a pretty good ability to make graphics on its own. So if you'd rather not make your videos fussing with importing other graphics, you can just make them right in here. And I'll show you that as well. Okay, so of course, Flynn's design, we can't make in Premiere. That's a unique element that we'd want to have in. But let's say for things like an artist name, song title, things like that, you could simply have those generated in Premiere if you prefer. So I'm going to move my playhead over here where there's some space because I'm going to be generating a new element. So I want room for it to populate. I'm going to go up to graphics and titles. There's a few ways to do this. This is just how I like to do it, to have a really basic bare bones graphic text box to work with and manipulate. Okay, so I'm going to go down to new layer and I'm going to click text. Okay, and notice that it populates right where my playhead is. It defaults to 5 seconds, just like all the other graphics. If I zoom into this a little bit, put my playhead over, I've just got stand in. It says new text layer in my text box field here. I can simply double click it right inside there. So this can be an active space that I can now type in. So I'll use Pat's name again and I'll caps lock and type that in. So now I've got some information that I can now design and work with and decide how I want it to look, how I want it to behave. I'm in my text tool now. I'm going to go back up to my arrow selection tool and notice that I have a transform box. I can grab a corner and blow it up. I can also click inside that text box and move it around. So it's really easy to work with to just simply generate a text layer within your sequence as well, if you'd prefer. This is not the same font, it's not the same properties, everything that we've been using in the Illustrator graphics, but you can invent your own and decide on how you want these to look. If I open up my text graphic over here in my Effect Controls window, I've got all of that nice information. It's pretty easy to use. It's in default font right now. If I wanted to change that, there's lots of others that are available in Premiere that you could use instead. Okay, below that, we've got lots of other features that we can work with. So I've affected the spacing and the kerning in my other designs. These are opportunities for you to play with the way the text appears on screen. And of course, Premiere also has lots of built-in drag and drop effects for text graphics as well, if you choose to use them. So I just manually expanded this font simply by changing the scale of the text box as an object, but the font size is over here, just another way that you can do that if you'd rather be numerical and precise. And of course, you can center that text however you want to handle it. Okay. Same goes with this text box. If I were to make some changes to it over here in my effect controls, for instance, let me just do something as an example. Let's say I wanted to add a stroke, which is an outline around this text. Let's say because I want to place this white text over various colored visual image. So I want to have it a little more visible. So I can click this box to add a stroke. I can decide how big that stroke is going to be. Right now it's 4 pixels, which is pretty big. So I can drag that down if I want to, make it a little smaller. Right now it's white, which is why we can't see it at all, because it's the same color as the text. I can just click on here. Let's say I just simply want it to be black. I can select a black and say, okay. And now if I were to, let me just show as an example. Grab that text box, move it somewhere over here on top of a visual image and overlay it. Notice I've got a little black outline and I've got my text, and I can still change it no matter, anytime I want, however I want to work with this text graphic. I can copy and paste that graphic itself if I want to maintain all the properties that I've created and not have to redo them for new text boxes. So that's a nice way to keep consistent, is simply copy paste the object itself into wherever you need it next, or drag it wherever you might need it. Okay, so a whole other way to create text graphics as needed. So 2 options, and there should be good resources in the drive for the Adobe Illustrator files if that way feels better to you.